This is Mick and the Fat Man, and we're talking life and music from the 60s through to the noughties. Welcome everybody to another episode of Mick and the Fat Man. Welcome to episode 4 of Mick and the Fat Man Talking Music, coming to you live this time from Narwee Boys High School Auditorium Hall in Sydney, Australia. I'm the Fat Man and with me is Mick. G'day Mick.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, mate, very good, mate. What have you been listening to this week, Mick?
Mate, surprisingly, I've been listening to some feedback from listeners and it's been interesting.
Oh, what sort of feedback have you been getting, mate?
I hadn't realised that anybody actually liked Jeff Buckley, and it's really quite surprising. I've had people come back to me and tell me that when we talked about him the other week, you'll recall that we mentioned his version in the context of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah and John Cale.
We did,
and I probably wasn't the nicest I could have been to young Mr. Buckley, and people have actually contacted me, emails, comments, telling me I've been very harsh.
On poor Jeff.
Poor Jeff. And I thought, well, clearly they haven't heard the Cale version.
I think that's true. I think, well, I mean, I'm sure there's a large proportion of the population who've been listening to the Shrek version and who think that's the really good one too.
Well, they'd be right there, wouldn't they?
Would that be better than the Jeff Buckley version?
On a slow day.
Yeah. Look, I've always liked the Jeff Buckley version when I'm swimming in rivers and things like that. I always find that enjoyable. I like to have it playing on the shore as I'm just swimming around the place. I'm just listening to him. I love it.
It gives you something to zone into as you're trying to find your way back out of the water.
I feel I can sort of get in touch with his inner soul a little bit.
Well, you would.
You would. Well, that's great. So is there, do we need to issue a formal apology to all those Jeff Buckley listeners who adore him, or do we just say, up yours?
Well, I'm inclined to say up yours. Again, I was talking to Ryan at the gym, and he said he had a go at Jeff Buckley on Facebook a couple of years back, and he got flamed like crazy. So he says, and he said to me, "You should never pick on Jeff Buckley. People who like Jeff Buckley are crazy."
People like Jeff Buckley, really like Jeff Buckley. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them, so we'll move on from there.
Jolly good.
Well, I've been listening this week to the Monkees, and what a great band they were. And with such great songs, like I'm a Believer and The Last Train to Clarksville, if you remember well. And I used to love the Monkees when I was a young kid, and when they flew into Australia, my mum let me stay home from school and watch them land in Sydney, Australia.
Awesome.
Whatever year it was, I don't remember, 60-something.
It would have been the 60s, yeah.
So, and I find them an interesting band because they were, in fact, sort of this manufactured band that was brought out in response to the success of the Beatles. And there was always this talk about how they actually were just a bunch of actors and that sort of stuff who came from nowhere and they manufactured them. But in fact, as you probably know, that Mickey Dolenz was a great actor in Circus Boy, and Peter Tork actually was playing around in Ashbury Heights around those days. Knew the Grateful Dead and stuff like that, and obviously Mike Nesmith actually was already was a professional musician at the time as well, and even Mickey Dolenz had a band at that particular time. He was singing, and Davy Jones had been working in musical theatre and, in fact, was the Artful Dodger in Oliver.
Oliver, indeed.
And they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, the cast of Oliver, doing whatever song they did on Oliver, on the same night that the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show. And it's it's sort of a weird sort of little link there, I think, that here we were. I was talking about the Beatles last time in my first album, which was the Revolver album, and they did Love Me Do, and they actually were on twice on the Ed Sullivan Show, and became the largest. I think the Ed Sullivan Show had the largest audience in the history of television at that particular time. I don't know whether it's been exceeded or not. And so
probably by Meghan and Harry.
Oh, they would be by now. they're both great. I love them both. But I thought the way she soldiered on after that bird shat on her dress, I thought, gee, she's a champion.
She is. She just carries on. I didn't like her last record much, though.
Yeah, look, a lot of critics to it, but look, I'm thrilled they'll come through with a new one. Yeah, so the interestingly, Davy Jones also inspired Gene Roddenberry of Star Trek, I should say, and he introduced the character of Chekhov into there with the same hairdo as Davy Jones.
Excellent.
So there's a fascinating bit of information, isn't it?
Well, they put a lot of money into the Monkees, and they had the cream of the songwriters writing their songs, and they had the cream of session musicians initially actually playing the Monkees songs until they upped the ante and said, "Well, we'll play them. Thanks very much." Yeah. People like Neil Diamond. Again, I'm a Believer you mentioned.
That's right. Yeah. Lots of. Actually, they did actually produce quite a few good songs, I must admit. But I used to love the television show because it was wacky and zany. Anyway, let's move on. So, what musical gem are you bringing out of the Globite school bag today, Mick?
Mate, I thought we'd talk about one of the probably most formative albums of the 70s and one of the most striking albums in terms of what people listened to and how they listened to it and how they appreciated the art element in rock music, and that's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie.
Ah, very good. So that came out in 1972, I believe.
June.
June 1972. And I was looking at the top-selling singles in Australia for 1972, and I know you're going to be full of excitement and joy when I tell you that the number one single for 1972 was in fact Puppy Love by Donny Osmond.
Well, it probably just goes to show why Bowie had such a success because...
But mind you, this is the other interesting thing. The third top song for 1972 was Popcorn by Hot Butter.
Shameful waste of electronica.
It was great. And, of course, we had American Pie was in there, which was good. And one of my favourites, and yours too, is Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast by Wayne Newton.
Not going to burst into song, I'm afraid.
What about Amazing Grace by the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards?
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Made it into the top 40 of Australia in 1972, and it was one of the top 40 songs across the year in 1972.
Well, also in 1972, one of the top-rating TV shows through the 70s was the Royal Edinburgh Tattoo, where they had Scots Guards marching up and down playing bagpipes and doing all sorts of things and putting spotlights on Spitfires on the top of towers. It was the era.
Yeah, and in fact, the Royal Dragoon is always a great addition to any performance in Edinburgh. What else have we got down the list? Down the list we've got the other one that I've always been a fan of, which is Ernie, the Fastest Milk Cart in the West by Benny Hill. Made it into number 17. And I think it really shows what taste Australia had in 1972, because if you look at some of these, we've got the Partridge Family, Donny Osmond, Wayne Newton, the David Cassidy's in there with Cherish, the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, of course, as we mentioned. Gary Glitter's there.
With all those kids.
And Sammy Davis Jr. made it in there as well with the Candyman. Wasn't that a ripper?
It was a wonderful.
I still remember seeing Sammy Davis Jr. on the Don Lane show, and he did the Candyman. He had the hat and he'd roll the hat around and stuff like that. It was riveting TV at the time.
Don Lane always was.
Always riveting.
With Bert Newton.
Always riveting. Always riveting. So, yeah, there's some great songs there. However, there were some top songs by Australian artists in 1972. Bop and the Blues by Black Feather was there. Billy Thorpe was still around. Most people I know think that I'm crazy. Day by Day by Colleen Hewitt. and The Ginger Man by Brian Cadd.
Good Lord. And he's still around.
He is still around. In fact, I've got a friend who often goes out and sees live music, and she posted a photo of Brian Cadd just the other day at some like Brian Cadd and a few other people, which was good to see him. He's looking a bit older, mind you.
Well, the beauty of that is you only need to photograph him in black and white.
Of course. All right, so let's move along and have a bit of a chat about David Bowie and Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. Tell me about the album. What's the context of where that came from?
Released in June 1972, when we were both still very, very young indeed. It was, for me, one of the first proper records that I embraced. It began a lifelong love with David Bowie's music. I already had Hunky Dory,
right,
and then got Ziggy Stardust. I heard it on the radio. Do you remember the radio?
Yes, I do. Little wireless programs.
That's right, yes. And even before Double J and then Triple J, the ABC used to have a program on a Sunday morning called Room to Move with a DJ called Chris Winter, who at the time was, he was the man. He was the one who knew everything about music from America, from Europe. This is back in the days when albums and songs weren't even released at the same time in Australia as they were in Europe, because they didn't have to worry about electronic copying and all of that sort of thing, because the technology just wasn't there. So we would wait sometimes months for records that we were reading about in Europe and seeing on the charts to be released in Australia. So Chris Winter would play these things, and sometimes he'd play them early, and I heard him play Ziggy Stardust, and then its fate was sealed. I just thought it was wonderful. Now I listened to this in my lounge room, in the kitchen. You recall the kitchen where we lived there? With
beautiful.
Beautiful, with the French polished table, which no one could sit at because it was got to be kept for good.
Well, you see, the problem with your French polish is if you put something hot on it, it goes white. So you can't. They're not really.
You mean like a cigarette?
No, like a warm plate even. So they're not an overly practical product to use for eating from.
No.
They're just for looking at.
Yeah, well, exactly right. And for young blokes getting into trouble when we'd done exactly what you've just described.
Absolutely.
So I'm listening to Chris Winter. It was 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, so it's a big effort to get up and listen to this program. He played a couple of songs from the album, 5 Years, Rock and Roll Suicide, It Ain't Easy, and Starman. And Starman is still a staple on classic radio today.
Yeah.
It's a great song. The album, it's a concept album, which was something that was just becoming a thing back in the early 70s.
And so where did the idea for Ziggy Stardust come from?
Bowie was nothing if not ambitious, and even then. So you might call him cold and calculating, and to a degree you'd probably be right. You know, if you read any of the histories of David Bowie, the man was going to be a star.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
He decided, had he?
He'd decided already, and he was doing things. He a couple of years before this, he'd done Space Oddity, which also is a classic radio staple.
Still today.
It is indeed. And Bowie was looking for something. He'd been a bit of a folkie before this, and you can hear that on the album. There's still a bit of acoustic guitar and some of the nice playing, folk influenced.
Did he steal his name from Davy Jones from the Monkees, do you think?
Well, quite the opposite, really. He was born Davy Jones.
Oh.
His real name is David Jones.
Oh.
And in fact, his son, Daniel Jones, who made a number of Academy Award-winning movies, including Moon.
Did he?
Yeah. He's the one who Bowie named Zoe. Zoe Bowie.
Did he really?
Yeah, and so naturally enough, when he grew up, the first thing he did was change his bloody name from Zoe to Daniel. But he was Daniel Jones.
Oh.
So,
but I'd rather be Zoe Bowie.
Yeah, doesn't give you a lot of credibility in the director stakes, though, does it?
No, it's a fun name.
Indeed. So So Bowie was looking for something that was going to make him a star. He had a belief that rock and roll, the 60s, folkies, all very nice. Rock bands getting up on stage in torn jeans and T-shirts and playing stuff loud. That's all very well as far as it went, but he saw a lot more in rock and roll. So Bowie is one of the first who incorporated costumes, incorporated light shows, and he actually, when you see footage of some of the shows that he did back around this time, he used to do a lot of miming and acting out on stage, because he did a time with a famous mime artist by the name of Lindsay Kemp.
Not Marcel Marceau?
Not Marcel Marceau. Yeah, who was a good friend of Lindsay Kemp.
I've got all of Marcel's albums, actually.
Well, I've found that they're all a bit the same.
No. Once you get into them, the third album really does take a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I just sort of move it around the lounge room a little bit, and then you get a
to.
feel for it.
You have to. There's always an imaginary glass wall in your way, though, when I try to move it. You know,
I hate that. Yeah. Yeah. So Bowie, he started to adopt personas, and Ziggy Stardust was the first of the personas. You look at him, photographs from 69, 70, 71, and he's a long-haired hippie folky. And he's still got that very angular, bony face that he's always had. He's always been a skinny character, Bowie.
Yeah.
And he cut his hair and dyed it orange and put on very colourful jumpsuits, and hey, Ziggy Stardust was born.
Oh, okay. So,
yep.
Are you suggesting that realistically that was kind of the start of the theatrical rock star, for want of a better term?
He wasn't the only one. There was a few others at the time. Genesis, for example, and Peter Gabriel was on stages all over Europe, going over the top with multiple costume changes. We might talk about that some other time. Yeah. But Bowie was certainly a leader in that field. He took the name of Ziggy Stardust. He was influenced by two people. The first of those was a rock star from the 50s called Vince Taylor, who you might recall we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago over a beer, and Vince Taylor...
Mad as a cut snake, I think is the term.
I think that's the expression that probably fits very well. He came to believe that he was Jesus.
I was I was just doing the obligatory Googling around the place, and and he was sort of this thing. The guy, I read this quote. The guy was unbelievable. He had a 6-day party in some guy's house that just went on and on. Just the weirdest kind of creature. And in his own mind, he had become the Messiah. and at one point, he basically decided he was the Messiah. He sacked his band, went on stage, said, "I'm Jesus Christ," and they locked him up. And I don't think they saw much of him since after that.
Critics.
I know.
And the other half of the name came from an artist who, similarly over the top, called the legendary Stardust Cowboy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And so in character and in name, Ziggy Stardust was born.
The other thing I was just thinking about Vince was that he used to be around Charing Cross Tube Station, kneeling down with a magnifying glass, looking at where all the UFO sites were.
Gee, that's very small UFOs, isn't it?
They're little UFOs.
Yeah.
But if you remember, there was a group of aliens in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy who basically flew through time and space into Earth, and the entire battle fleet got eaten by a small dog.
Massive miscalculation of scale.
That's it. But look, we digress.
We digress quite a bit, really, don't we? Look, Bowie believed that rock was much more than what you see is what you get. He wanted a lot more. He wanted the show. He wanted the whole ethos that covered him, that covered music, that covered his albums and the stories of his albums. He saw it all as the one thing.
And was he touring a lot around that time?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he had a live band. In particular, his lead guitarist was a chap by the name of Mick Ronson.
Okay, he was a session musician, wasn't he?
He was. Yep. Yeah. And Mick came from a place in northern England, and we might call that place that he came from Hull, but he actually came from Hull. Yeah.
Come from Hull.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's a lot of great English musicians come from the north, and one of these weeks we might have a chat about the Smiths, who also came from the north.
Oh, did they? They come from Hull?
No, they didn't come from Hull. They came from Manchester.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologise to any Pommies listening. I'm sure that my impersonation of a Manchester accent crosses over very badly with the Liverpool accent. So apologies in advance. Don't bother telling us, we know.
Okay.
The interesting thing about Bowie is that he jumped on or created a bandwagon of sex. Seems to be a lot of what we talk about here. But
you do, I don't. I'm not interested.
I'm obsessed.
I'm not interested at all.
No. And he, at the same time as Ziggy Stardust came out, and Ziggy Stardust was fairly androgynous, and it could have been either sex.
Oh, is that right?
But Bowie came out and
but he did have a penis.
Well, he never showed it on stage. He's not Iggy Pop.
Right, okay.
That's a different story.
Okay, we'll leave that one for later.
Yes, indeed.
Although I think there was some interaction between Bowie and
there
Iggy
was
Pop.
Indeed, and we could talk about the Idiot and Lust for Life.
Okay.
Some other 60 seconds. Yeah. But in early 72, around the same time as this album came out, Bowie announced to the media that he was bisexual. Shock, horror. Talk about putting the pigeon among the cats. And look, that didn't impact on us here in Australia. It's a world away from that now. But in suburban Sydney, we didn't know anything about gay or straight or anything at all. We were just blokes who wore jeans. It wasn't a concept. It wasn't anything that actually meant anything to us.
I don't think a bisexual actually existed. I don't think there was one back when we were growing up.
Certainly not one you could point to and say, well, there's one.
No, we wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think so. But, I think I think we understood the concept of homosexuality, but I don't think we understood the concept of bisexuality or anything else.
Yeah. But these days...
I'm out of my league, straight up.
Well, absolutely.
I'm just your regular kind of cisgender guy.
Aren't you right up with all the jargon?
Oh, yeah.
I've no idea what that means, but
it means...
I know what it means on paper, but I've no idea what it means in reality.
It means you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. It just is.
It's really quite extraordinary. Aren't we digressing away from the music? Isn't that wonderful? But in fact, it's not, because
aren't we doing a music show? Oh, mate.
No. We're now talking about gender politics.
Yep,
yeah, we're moving away from that. But it's not, because that's the important thing. Bowie and Bowie did this very very deliberately. He was not a smart or an accidental. He wasn't dumb. He was. This was all very deliberate,
calculated.
Absolutely calculated.
So do you reckon he actually sat in a room and said to his manager, "I'm going to come out as bisexual next week"? Probably did.
I can only suggest that he did this deliberately. Now,
because it was controversial, wasn't it?
It was absolutely controversial, and he walked it back in several interviews over the next 30 or 40 years with Rolling Stone, with other British magazines, on TV.
And he married beautiful women.
He did. Well, he married Imana and stayed married to her until his death. Yes. So that's really quite a long time. He actually denied it, and he said, "Yeah, I didn't really know what I was talking about. It was a bit controversial. It was something to say."
Yeah, but if there's a woman who's just been doing the rounds of, she put a book out. She's one of the first female roadies, international female roadies. She's an Aussie woman. I can't remember her name. There's a book she just put out just recently. Of her life, and she recalls Iggy. She was managing Iggy, or doing all the stage management for Iggy's show, and he was very upset when David ended it with him. That's what she reckons. So I think there must have been something at some point.
Oh, I'm not suggesting I have.
But she seemed to believe that Iggy thought there was a lot more than what David did.
when you read the story of the relationship between Iggy Pop and David Bowie, and to a lesser degree Lou Reed, more than friends, I don't know, and it's not our business. What? Oh yeah, it's salacious gossip. But we have no way of knowing exactly what went on behind the locked hotel doors.
That's right.
But they did have a very, very close relationship, Bowie and Iggy Pop, to the extent that in '76, with The Idiot, followed by Lust for Life, they were both drugged out, careers facing finish.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and Bowie and Pop had just toured on Bowie's world tour for Station to Station, and you'll recall that Bowie has actually been quoted as saying he can't remember making Station to Station.
Really?
Yeah, because he was so coked out. He was so off his face, which is a real shame because it's my favourite Bowie album.
I know it's regarded, in many of the top 100 sort of albums lists that I've seen, Rolling Stone in particular, it's Station to Station is in there above all the other Bowie albums.
Yeah, Bowie leapt into drug culture. And I can remember I was horrified. There was a line on Diamond Dogs in the song called Candidate which says, "We'll buy some drugs and watch a band." And I was so young and naive that I was horrified that my hero would actually take drugs.
Yeah,
that's a long time ago, isn't it?
That's a very long time ago.
That is a very long time ago indeed. So their relationship was very close, and closer than just "G'day mate, how are you? Let's go for a beer." And certainly the understanding of them.
I just can't imagine David Bowie saying that to Iggy Pop. "G'day mate, there you go, let's go for a beer."
Probably not, although he did film one of his film clips in the Harbourview Hotel at the Rocks.
He did China Girl.
Yes, he did. Yes.
And also Out West.
Yes, yeah. And China Girl was a song off The Idiot by Iggy Pop, co-written by Bowie.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh, the coincidences. The coincidence. Can we talk about Ziggy Stardust some more?
Yes, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah, look, it was a concept album set at the end of the world. The world has only got 5 years worth of resources left.
Oh. Do you know, that's interesting because that's the year that the Poseidon Adventure film came out. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Would that have caused the boat to roll over, do you think?
No resources. Yeah, it could be.
They ran out of juice?
I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe
they ran out of things to talk about in movies.
Could be. Sorry about that. Do go on.
So Starman, and everybody knows the song Starman, creates the aura of Ziggy or Bowie as a rock star alien who's appearing on Earth as a human being. He becomes a huge success, and his ego grows disproportionately. And so the person telling the story about Ziggy Stardust said, "When the kids had killed the band, when the kids had killed the man, I had to break up the band." So there goes Ziggy Stardust into rock and roll suicide.
Yep.
And suicide wasn't a thing.
Not something we talk about.
Well, not then, no. Now it's...
It was against the law back in those days.
Well, I don't know how they'd enforce that, but...
Well, it just meant that it was very difficult to get inheritances and things like that or insurance policies from people that committed suicide. I don't think most life insurance policies didn't cover suicide back in those days.
I don't know that they do now.
Well, maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the concept of actually singing about it was very radical for our generation. For sure. Yeah. Before Bowie, we'd had people like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix dying. Stars, rock stars. They were a bit older than us.
But they didn't commit suicide, though.
Accidental overdoses, yeah. They're rock stars, they take drugs. That's hazard pay.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's Bowie talking about suicide. It's all too much. I can't stand it. I'm all alone. I'm going.
Mm.
And again, that was something different with a rock style. Certainly not Metallica by any means, but certainly a rock folky sort of style. And you listen to the guitar introduction to some of the songs. very, very strummed and doon, 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 doon. So
Sorry, how'd that go again?
No, I think that's more than enough musical interlude from me. Ziggy was the first of many personas that Bowie had.
Right.
Later on, he had the Thin White Duke, where he was very. This was around the time of Station to Station, and the Thin Duke was cold, calculating, removed from the earth, around the same time as The Man Who Fell to Earth, the movie.
Oh,
did you ever see that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. Very interesting. A little weird.
A little bit weird.
Yeah, a little bit weird. But
there was no penis in it, was there?
There was none.
Yeah.
There was none. He had a little
little
jumpsuit.
He had a mound.
Yeah. Yeah. Which purported to be his body.
Yeah, no, he had a little mound.
It was
like Ken. Like Ken. He was like Ken.
Oh, my goodness.
And remember Ken? He had a mound.
I remember Ken. Sorry, Jeff, I'll come a little bit closer to the microphone.
Thanks,
and talk.
Mate. Appreciate that.
Good. How's that?
That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay. So how are we doing for time? Because I could go on and on.
No, I think we'll go on for a little bit longer, to be honest. We will keep on going for a little bit. I wanted to talk quickly about It Ain't Easy.
It Ain't Easy, yes. Well, please do.
The only cover song on the album.
Yep.
And I do like the fact that it features harpsichord from Rick Wakeman. And who doesn't love a good Rick Wakeman album?
Well, Rick Wakeman and Bowie had a history that had gone on for several albums beforehand. They were both mixing in the same circles,
Is that right?
same arty circles, and back then Rick Wakeman wasn't such a grumpy old man. He was an arty fellow playing all sorts of keyboards in their early days, around the time of Keith Emerson, and he'd appear on stage in a huge long satin cloak, sparkly cloak. You can't go wrong
And surrounded by keyboards. I always loved that look. And the cover of Journey to the Centre of the Earth, I love the cover of that. It looks great. What a great album that was.
Absolutely. Rick Wakeman played I think I mentioned before, played the keyboards part on Space Oddity.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So they've had a long collaboration.
Yes, would have been around by then, though, wouldn't it?
I think they've been around forever.
Yeah. Before time they started.
They did.
Moved through some portal in time to this time where they played music that's sort of
timeless.
Well, certainly, as I think I've mentioned to you before, I did have the Triple Live album, which seems like a timeless album from three albums, with one side a drum solo, one side a Rick Wakeman solo, and so timeless, in fact, that it's almost impossible to listen to because it's just not very good.
By timeless, you mean it never ends? It
feels like that. After the first side, you really don't feel like turning it over, but you feel compelled because you have two more albums to go.
Absolutely.
But the artwork was very pretty.
It was all that Roger Dean stuff from Hypnosis.
Yeah, very nice stuff. So Rick Wakeman, Bowie, they're kind of a bit glammy. Were they part of that glam rock sort of scene?
Well, yeah. I mean, Rick Wakeman played a lot of things. I don't know that I've ever seen any authoritative list that says Rick Wakeman is part of glam, but certainly Bowie was categorised as part of glam, costumes, makeup, a whole concept in addition to the music. There was a lot of crap music in glam, but things like The Sweet.
Yeah. That was good. The Sweet were good.
The Sweet, I loved The Sweet, yeah.
Gary Glitter I didn't love. And I don't know how he's a glam person.
He came on stage in shiny silver outfits, and it was obviously stretchy because even then he wasn't the world's thinnest man.
No. But like his songs weren't that good, though, were they?
They were fun. It's certainly not polite to like them these days, given his later track record.
Yeah. He had a few little issues, didn't he?
He did indeed, and
ones we don't like to talk about much.
No, we don't talk about those. This is not that type of podcast. But other people, Lou Reed, Walk on the Wild Side, was actually categorised as part of that glam movement.
Really?
I find it very hard to see myself.
Very tricky.
Yeah, very, very tricky. But Slade,
definitely.
Yeah, Dave Hill and Noddy Holder with their shiny hats.
Yeah. I played Slade live recently, actually.
It's awful, isn't it?
Look, it's not as good as I remembered.
No.
I had a fond memory of that album. And when I listened to it just recently, the fondness had faded a little bit. To be honest with you, I didn't see it quite as enjoyable as I did originally. And let's just keep on moving. Did Bowie ever tour in Australia?
Bowie did. Bowie's toured Australia 4 times.
4. I've seen none of them.
Really? Well, I saw the first 3. Like a lot of, I've been criticised of being shallow with my music fandom, but I prefer to think of it as getting in early and getting out early. So I was a very big fan of Bowie's, and he first toured Australia in November '78, and that was at the Showground. By that stage, he was a megastar.
So he was doing Thin White Duke then? Was that Thin White Duke? Or?
Around that time, yeah. And it was the White Light Tour. So it was called the White Light Tour, and the light show was all white fluorescence.
Interesting.
It was really great. It was just absolutely.
You wouldn't want the starters to go on your fluoros back in those days because flickering lights in the background, wouldn't you?
It's not exactly the professional type of light show you're looking for, really. No. Lights flickering in the background, and one out of a band of 4 not working. So it always happens.
4,000 lights there, and there's just 3 flicking on and off all the time.
Well, luckily, he had really good fluoro starters. That album.
Sourced the best fluoro lights in the world.
Yeah, we did, yeah. That album, that tour actually, was captured on the double live album called Stage.
All right.
Yep. And
was that better than the Triple Yes album live?
Much better.
Right.
It had no Rick Wakeman at all.
Oh, that's interesting. Could have done with a Rick Wakeman side on it.
It could have done, indeed. With the drum solo.
For an entire side.
And that tour, that's 78, and it featured 5 songs from Ziggy Stardust in a row. So that was really good, and it sort of acknowledged the importance.
So he'd had how many more albums? So he'd had
another 3 or 4, including Heroes.
Oh, Heroes.
And so once Heroes came along, Heroes added dramatically to his fan base, and people came along and wanted to see the latest stuff, Heroes and songs that were released in 78, 79, Fame, things like that. So by the time he toured in 83 and the Serious Moonlight Tour again at the Showground, it was a good show. But then he toured in 87, the Glass Spider Tour. I was just having a look at what people thought about that tour, and some people were raving about it, saying it's the best show I've ever seen, wonderful. I remember leaving that thinking, I think my time as a David Bowie fanatic is probably coming to an end. I did think that the Glass Spider Tour was ludicrous was a term that came to mind, pompous, overdone, but all that aside, because it's not like us to be harshly critical of anybody at all.
Were there spiders?
Only made of glass.
Right. Yep. Understood.
Yep. By those last 2 tours there, he'd dropped anything from Ziggy Stardust. There was nothing from Ziggy Stardust on those two later tours. So the album that made him a big world megastar was left behind in the wake of a lot more modern stuff, and that happens. Yeah,
but realistically, his style had changed a fair bit from Ziggy Stardust, really, hadn't it? I mean, he'd gone into sort of not disco, but funk sort of style as well.
Yes, most definitely. And things like Station to Station with that sort of train sounding guitar work at the beginning of it, and the piano that doon 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 doon. Anyway. Try not to get any more musical than that due to a distinct lack of ability.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea because it's really bad.
Yeah. And Heroes. So, he had dropped it, but it still stays there. It's the mark of Bowie's career. It's the mark of the start of Bowie's career. It's an album that broke through. In its time, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And the playing, the songs, and on our recommended list, I'll put a few songs there that I think are great from that album, and that'll include 5 Years and Rock and Roll Suicide.
Yeah, and we'll probably want to get the Monkees in there as well.
Absolutely. You can't. Clarksville, perhaps?
Last Train. Yeah, all right. And the other thing I was just wondering, so I remember seeing a a bit of film clippage of Bowie saying, "This is it. This is the last album I'm ever going to do, last tour I'm ever going to do after the last Ziggy Stardust album." And people were crying and all that sort of stuff. Did we have that reaction in Australia, or was he just not the same megastar that he was in the UK at the time?
Probably more to the point is what I was talking about before, that distance and the time between what happens in Europe and what happened in America. By the time he did that was at the Hammersmith Odeon in 74. I'd have to check it.
Yeah, I know.
And it was on the album Ziggy Stardust, the Motion Picture. So, and I had the bootleg of it, his master's voice, which... sounds like I had a few bootlegs back in the day.
You did have a lot of bootlegs.
Yes, I did indeed. But that was all good. And yes, he said, not only is it the last concert of the tour, it's the last concert we'll ever do. And you can hear people in the crowd going, no, Ziggy. And apparently the band didn't know. So,
is that right?
Yeah. So David gets up there and announces that they're retiring. Thanks very much. That's the end of it. I've worked this. What we didn't know and what they didn't know and what anybody didn't know was that he meant Ziggy Stardust was done.
Ziggy
right?
Stardust.
Yeah, because later the history shows that he just kept adopting a new character, a bit like Doctor Who.
Yeah. So he killed Ziggy Stardust. That was the death of Ziggy Stardust, essentially.
Absolutely. And like I say, the band didn't know, and Woody Woodmansey, the drummer, he stood up and stormed off. He threw his drumsticks into the crowd, stormed off. He was dirty. He didn't know.
God almighty. Well, on that note, I think we might call it quits now, Mick, and I might just say that this is the last podcast we'll ever do about Ziggy Stardust ever, and we're going to go into retirement on that one. So thanks, everybody, for listening to that, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the... are available there on the website. Hit us up on their email if you've got any thing you want to say about what Mick has said. Most of it is up for contention, up for objection. We'll have the addresses for all those in the show notes. Rate us on Apple, but do be nice if you don't mind, and see us on Apple and Spotify, and we'll see you soon. Thanks very much, everybody.